Well, I can't tell if I'm live or not. Let's see something here. Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Amanda, for letting me know. Well, hey, guys, thank you for being here today on July 5th, 2021, the day after July 4th. I hope you guys had a wonderful, fantastic, amazing weekend and are ready to go this week with a massive amount of steam and excitement for the week to come. So I want to thank you guys for taking your time to be here at the Portrait Profits Show, where our goal is to uplift portrait photographers so that we can all make an income and a living in photography, so that things are just amazing for us. And we're proud to do what it is we do, able to pay our bills, able to get a bigger car, a bigger home, whatever it is that you want. That photography as a business is causing you to reach your goals. And we do this in combination with two different wonderful entities, and you see them on their screen. The sponsors are Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. And we have with us today Amanda from Digital Pro Lab. Amanda, can you share a little bit about what you guys do?
Hey there, everybody. Started just bumping around here on StreamYard, our new platform that Jim and I have decided to utilize. I hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July. I know ours was very restful, and I know my employees are enjoying the rest as well, since today we're actually closed, but you know, no rest for the wicked. I'm here trying to get stuff done, just like I'm sure a lot of you, on that extra day are probably enjoying your time, but also getting a little bit of extra work done as you can. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Amanda, and I'm the owner of Digital Pro Lab here in San Antonio, Texas. We're a full-service professional photo lab, and if you're not familiar with Digital Pro Lab, I encourage you to look right here at the bottom of the screen. Again, getting used to it. Just head on over to digitalprolab.com. We're located on San Pedro, not too far off of 410. Do come by and visit us if you haven't come to visit us. The other thing that I wanted to say is, again, as always, Digital Pro Lab is very, very grateful to present Portrait Profits to you. It's something we do together with Jim Landers of Landers Photography School out of the kindness of our hearts, because we want to help and uplift the photography community. And we know that that takes time, it takes effort, and we're definitely two people that, if you don't know it yet, are very willing to do that for everybody. So thank you, Jim, always for your time and support of the photography community here in San Antonio, Texas. And hopefully we'll be able to reach more people through doing live streams like this outside of San Antonio all the way through out Texas in the United States. And yeah. All right, Jim, I'm going to head back over to you. If y'all will stay tuned to the end of the Portrait Profits show today, we do have some announcements to make and a promo code for you if you're not familiar with the fact that Digital Pro Lab does offer quite a few different types of prints, and we definitely do have a set of prints for the week that are going to be at a pretty good, fabulous discount. So we want to be able to share that promo code for you, but you do have to stay towards the end of the stream. All right. Over and out.
Thank you, Amanda. Oh, man. She's wonderful. Digital Pro Lab's wonderful. We're just lucky to have them and us working together to make this happen for you guys. Thanks again for being here today for the 21st episode of the Portrait Profits Show. Today, we're going to be talking about the 11 steps that you need to take in order to do a great job, an amazing job of selling wall portraits as home decor. Now, this is what I specialized in. Let me tell you specifically. In my career, started in 1991, and have been doing this for quite some time, obviously. But I specialize in emotional family portraits as home decor, meaning the work I create winds up on the wall. If that's not what someone's looking for, well, then I'm not the right tool for them. Meaning, All of my clients get photographs for their wall, all of them, because that's what I tell them I do. When you do a good job of describing who you are and what you do, you get that kind of client. And those who aren't looking for that, you don't get that kind of client. So people will ask all the time, well, how many of your clients actually bought wall portraits? All of them. It'd be like saying I'm a tool in a tool store. I'm a screwdriver. How many people going into the store who wanted screwdrivers wound up with a screwdriver? All of them. You just have to do a good job of describing what it is that you do. It's not a matter of luck or crossing your fingers. It's a matter of saying, this is what I do. So those who are looking for it have the ability to find it. You know, the first time I saw my work printed as a wall portrait, I was so proud. If you've had that experience of seeing an image you created printed in an appropriate size up on the wall, appropriate meaning, I'll give you a little story. Several years ago, someone called, a guy, of course, and he said, you know, it's been a long time since we've done a family portrait. And so I would like to do this. In fact, I'd like to give this kind of as a gift to my wife. She's going to know about it, so it won't be a surprise. But I want to give this as a gift to my wife. And I'm telling you right now, I want the big one. What's that mean? In my head, I didn't say it like that. I let him share. He's enthusiastic. I let him share a little bit more. And once he got done, I asked a few questions, and I came back to, what does that mean to you? Because a big print versus a small print versus, there's no big or little. There's only that relative to the appropriate size. And so I asked, what does that mean to you? And he said, oh, I want the biggest one. I want the 8x10. What? 8x10? Okay. Well, the 8x10 is not the biggest one. Of course, it's in my mind. And in my mind, I'm wondering, how is it even possible that he's thinking that this is a big one? And so I start analyzing that in my head after the call. And I figure, you know what? If someone's only experience with a professional photographer is the school photographer, then the 8x10 is the big one. Client education is an important part of your business. Hold on for a second. Robin, can I get your attention? Francis doesn't realize that we're doing this via live stream. And you may not need that. I'm only showing you that just in case. But she thinks she's supposed to log in. Tell her to go straight to Facebook. Thank you. Sorry, guys. One of my career photographer students is having trouble logging in. Well, there's no login anymore. We switched this to StreamYard, and we're going straight to Facebook and to YouTube. All right, so he thought that an 8x10 was a big one, and he wound up getting an appropriately sized one because you know what? An 8x10 behind your couch. Well, it looks just plain silly. I guess you could do a whole bunch of 8x10s behind the couch and do a collage, and that would look good. But you know what? I specialize in family portraits. The family is the number one thing. And so one main photograph. Now, maybe in the hallway, there's a grouping of images. That would be a perfect spot for that. I want to make sure that I get this point across. Portrait photographers are artists. Unless we fail to complete the job, then we are only business people assuming the role of artist, trying to get an acceptable result as soon as possible and then move on to the next customer. Because when we cut corners, we spend less time. And that means more efficient, right? Is that really what it means? It means what you want it to mean. In this lesson, we're going to cover the entire job of a portrait photographer, from the initial contact to completing the work. But just for a moment, I want you to think about this. I mentioned portrait photographers are artists unless we fail to complete the job. Well, let's make an analogy here. Let's say you were a roofer. I wouldn't put that in the artist category, but maybe some of them are that good. I don't know. I'm not putting it in the artist category. I'm kind of thinking what we're doing is more important, although having a roof over your head, an incredibly important thing. So it's not a comparison. The comparison I want to make is, what does completed mean? And why is that important? Can you imagine a roofer not completing the job? Now, what are we talking about here? A photographer not completing the job versus a roofer not completing the job. Well, a photographer not completing the job is not bringing it to its end, whatever its end is. For instance, if you're just photographing a headshot for someone's LinkedIn profile image, a digital file is completion. Now, you may want to go through some artwork and some cropping to optimize for its purpose, but it's a digital file that is complete. So it depends on what kind of work you choose to do, but we're talking about portrait photography. This is Portrait Profits, after all. If you don't take it to its completion, then maybe you're doing so to cut some corners, to reduce the amount of time, which makes you maybe a good business person. But we as artists truly care about our clients. We have an emotional connection to our clients. We have an emotional connection to everything we create. We want everything we create to be loved. The roofer who doesn't complete the job, as a photographer. So the photographer's attitude, if they're not completing the job, would be like this if they were a roofer. So you're the roofer, and you have gone up on. You've gotten the ladder. You've gotten you've parked out in front in the right spot. You've gotten your ladder. You're in a great mood. You go up on top of the roof. You start taking off that roof, and you get completed with it. You put everything in the roll-off dumpster, and you've done a great job of removing all the stuff from the roof. Now, if you're again a photographer who doesn't complete the job would be thinking, well, hey, they know how to use a hammer and nails. So therefore, after you've completed removing all the roof, it's in that roll-off dumpster. It's ready to go away. You are super proud. And you go and you put all your stuff away. You put the ladder in your truck and you're ready to go. And you go and get this wonderful gift bag of nails. And you go up to the front door, ring that doorbell, and they answer, and you say, all right, I am done. I've completely removed the roof. The shingles are sitting there on the ground next to the house, and here is a free bag of nails. It was wonderful working with you. Please share me with your friends. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Guys, if you're a portrait photographer, it doesn't work that way. Complete the job. And we're going to talk about how to do it. So here are 5 thoughts I want you to keep in mind as you get used to the system of actually taking your work all the way to completion. Number 1, you need to own wall portraits yourself. You need to have them up in your home. Experiencing one for yourself makes it really easy to sell to others because you've got that feeling, that pride. I mean, when someone comes over and they see that photograph on the wall, they comment. They say, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful photograph. It causes you to be filled with pride. You love that feeling. It's in a prominent place in your home. You're proud of it. It makes it easy to sell when you have something like that yourself. Number 2, once you experience wall portraits for yourself, you'll begin to understand the impact and see the value of wall portraits as home decor. Number 3, write down some short, true, emotional stories. Stories sell because they connect to our emotions. These are going to be things that you have experienced before that you can share with someone else. Maybe there's someone else's story if it tells the story better. Number 4, you are a marketer and seller of photographic services. As a portrait photographer, you are a marketer and seller of photographic services. Number 5, this system takes some time to get really good at. Please don't get discouraged if it doesn't seem to be working at first, because it works. This system works. So let's get into the 11 steps to selling wall portraits as home decor. You guys have your pen and paper ready to go? Hopefully you already have been taking notes. Number 1, I want you to talk about wall portraits all the time, but specifically at every step of the client sales process. Beginning with the initial phone call or email response. I want you to form alliances with other businesses in your target market that target your same target market that you target. Because then you have an opportunity to display and exhibit your wall portraits. By the way, in a future episode of Portrait Profits, we're going to be talking about how to be seen everywhere. Now, everywhere where your target market will see it. That's in the future. But for now, talk about it every step of the way, because this is something you're proud of. This is the end result of what it is that you do. And it brings you a lot of pride. So you're going to share this. When someone calls and they're asking about a family portrait, hopefully they've seen what I do and know what I do, but sometimes they don't. And so I need to share it with them. But either way, I need to share it with them. Communication is huge. We have to make sure that we're clear on what type of tool that we are so that they can make an educated decision. And we need to listen to what it is they want so we can make a decision if we're the right tool or not. Because if we're not, and yes, you can press the shutter button in front of anything. That does not make you the right tool for the job. When someone calls, I want to find out who they are, what it is that their goal is, why do they want to do this portrait session at this time. Get a little information, form a picture in my mind of what it is, or who it is that they are, and begin to form a picture of what it is that they want. And I will ask questions like, do you have a beautiful wall portrait of your family on your wall now? And so that they can start to share with me, either they do or they don't. And I will ask questions like, what was the best experience you've had doing a portrait session? Have you ever had an experience with a portrait session that didn't go well, whether that was the photographer or the session that didn't go well? Sometimes kids have meltdowns. By the way, sometimes parents do too, but not very often. It's usually the 2-year-old, the 3-year-old, sometimes the 4-year-old, sometimes the 12-year-old. But it's still fun. Number 2, show only wall portraits. Do not show your 4x6s, your 5x7s, and your 8x10s, not even your 11x14s. Don't show them. I suggest show images that are greater than the size of a 16x20, but at least a 16x20. A 16x20 is kind of small when you put it behind a couch. So show the size you want to sell. Some people actually bring photographs with them to someone's home or some other family just so they can see it. That's a lot of work to do that. So I'm not necessarily recommending it, but I would definitely say that's a pretty darn good idea. So if you've got a studio, and by the way, very few photographers have studios. If you've got a studio, only display the sizes you want to sell in a finished form, meaning framed, if that's what they need to, if that's what they need. There are other images that don't need framing. For instance, a canvas that is a gallery canvas that wraps around the edges. Maybe then that you don't need it framed. But otherwise, a finished portrait, multiple finished portraits is what you should show in your studio. Whether that's a retail studio or a home studio, show images in the size that you want to sell. And that's up to you. If you don't have a studio, that's where that other idea comes in, where you're actually bringing images to show. Makes a big difference. However, it's difficult to do such a thing. And you can show images via your laptop or your iPad. And that's not bad. So it's a good alternative, and it weighs a lot less. And so that's more what I recommend because of ease of use. But you're showing images in their finished form, meaning not just a photograph on your computer screen. I mean, that's good, but that's what everybody can do. And if your goal is to stand out from the crowd, well, then you've got to do things that the crowd isn't doing, right? Of course. So show images that you have created on someone's wall. Photograph your photograph on someone's wall. That's the image you want to show your prospective client, your prospect. You want to show those images, the real images. And that's better than just showing your photographs. But you know what's best? If you don't actually bring images in, what's best is a photograph of that photograph on the wall with the family standing in front of it and a testimonial underneath. You can see the pride in their faces with this photograph on the wall next to them, and then a testimonial that's their actual words. Awesome marketing. When other people, when your prospects see that this is what you do, one of two things happen. They say, I want that for my family. Or two, that's not what I want. Now, a lot of photographers go into accommodate mode. Well, I can accommodate anything. They're not saying that word, but that's what they're doing. So they are saying that I can do this or I can do that, and they're trying to accommodate every single situation. That would be like a screwdriver saying, you know what? If you turn me around, I can be a hammer too. You don't need a hammer. You can get me. Come on, guys. Be the tool that you are. Do the things that you enjoy doing that give you the most joy. Work with the clients that give you the most satisfaction, that energize you, that lift you. You're in control. Show only wall portraits. Number 3, the planning session. Please never skip this step. If you're following this system, skipping this step will hurt you. If you're not following this system, then skipping this step may be what you're used to, or maybe you do something slightly different. But a planning session, I call it design consultation, but it is a planning session where we talk about what it is that they want to do and what the end result is supposed to be. It's just a plan of what it is we're trying to accomplish here. So it is best to do this planning session in their home. Physically go to their home. Now, if they live a long way away, this way of doing things is kind of time consuming. Let's say it takes you half an hour to get there. Well, that's also half an hour to get back. So there's an hour. Then what about the session itself? Well, half an hour and half an hour. We're at 2 hours, half an hour there, half an hour back. And then I show my photographs in their home. So that's a half an hour there, half an hour back. And then I deliver. So we're talking about 4 hours of drive time minimum per client. That's a lot of time spent not doing photography, not doing profit-minded activities. It doesn't mean you can't do anything during those times, but it is an area that you should cut. Drive time. Here's how I chose to cut drive time. I cut drive time by only servicing a 10-mile radius. That's it. Think about where you live. If you live out in the country, you don't have this description. But if you live in a city, I live in a suburb of a big city, San Antonio, Texas. And I say big. I know if you don't live here, San Antonio may not seem all that big. But it is the 7th largest city in the U.S. And number 8, Dallas, Texas. And you do see that one as being big. I guess there's more to the story there. There always is. But within a 10-mile radius of where I work, there's well over 100,000 people. If I can't make it in a group of 100,000 people, the problem isn't the people. The problem is me. One of the things that I do to make things happen, and well, is the planning session. It's a good idea to do this planning session in a place where where the portrait is going to be displayed. So if you're not able to do this in their home, you have to know approximately the size and proportion that this image is going to wind up being. So you're not just creating willy-nilly, not the best portrait photographers, unless they're creating for themselves. If you're actually creating, if this is a piece of art that is a collaborative piece of art between you as photographer and them as client, then you have to include them in this planning process. I'm not saying that all portrait photographers must do that. There are some portrait photographers with a totally different business model where they create a certain style each time. Maybe a studio style that's made to look like it belongs in a museum. And then someone sees that and says, I want that. So that is one very effective business model. I'm not describing that one today. I'm describing the one where you are creating something for that client, something specifically for that client, a custom piece for them. You're going to know ahead of time what its size is, how large, how small, whether it's going to be a vertical or a horizontal. And when you're in the location where it's going to be seen or going to be displayed, you know. I know ahead of time, vertical, horizontal. I know ahead of time the size. By the way, when I'm speaking about the size, I speak in terms of feet. It's just one more little thing that causes me to stand out from the crowd from my client's point of view. Because while all the other photographers are talking about inches, I'm talking about feet. Talking about 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot print. I'm not talking about inches. I will often bring a measuring tape also to make sure that I know what size it's going to be. This also helps me give them an estimate of what things are going to, what their investment is going to be. Because I want them to know everything ahead of time. I don't want any surprises at the end. During that planning session, they haven't paid me anything yet, but once they've agreed and we put them on the calendar, that's when I collect a creation fee. But that's for a different episode. I get to, based on who they are and what they do, I get to find out lots of different things about them. I also, based on where it's going to be displayed, I can suggest clothing that will match that environment. And I also know at that point what frame is the appropriate frame for that space. You may think, well, framing, that's way more than a printing. I don't know if I want to think about that. Think about that. It isn't that hard. Here's how I did it. I'll contrast it first with something that others do. I've seen others or heard others talk about bringing in those frame corners. Don't do that. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But man, I try to minimize the amount of things I'm carrying around. Instead, I say, I know exactly what frame is going to be best. But at this point, that's about all I say. When we get down to the part where you're actually selling the images themselves, I will bring this back up because there's more that I say at that point in time. So just keep that in mind. There are basically 4 ways people will contact you at first: by phone, email, web, text, in person. Your goal is to simply book the planning session during that phone call, or however it is. That's really all you need to accomplish during that first step. And getting them, because you want to be able to see them, you want to be able to be in their environment to help them, to fully help them. Your goal is not to book the photography session until the end of the planning session, not before. And you know, we are talking about a lot of money. Let's bring that part up. We're going to bring it up again. This is a lot of money. And anytime a lot of money is being considered, it's a big decision. I want you to know that all big decisions are made up of a series of smaller ones that build up to the big one. You should purposefully ask questions that they will say yes to. We want to get this positive from the beginning. So when you ask questions, purposefully ask the positive side of questions that you're asking. I want to find out what their motivations are in general, and I want to find out what their motivations for doing this portrait session are for now. Why did they call me now? And one of the most important questions I believe that you should be asking during this planning session, I actually asked this question on the phone also, but I do ask it again during the planning session. What's most important to you about your family? Now, the word family is going to be replaced by whatever type of portrait work you're doing. So if you do high school seniors, if you're doing weddings, whatever kind of work that you do, boudoir, maternity, newborns, whatever kind of work you do, you're going to ask a specific question to that type of work. So for me, what's most important to you about your family? And then I'm silent. Then I let them think. Now, make sure that if you choose to add this, and I definitely recommend adding this to the questions that you ask them, do not add in the word photography after it, because that's your part of the job. This is your expertise. Their expertise is their family. Your expertise is photographing it. So don't ask them questions about your expertise. Ask them questions about theirs. What's most important to you about your family? And then you're silent and you allow them to answer that question. No prodding, no suggesting. Allow them to answer. For the photography session, together with your client, choose a location that has an emotional connection for them. Ask questions about who might want the gift of a portrait. Grandma, aunts, godparents. I want to know ahead of time what the purpose of the individual prints are. I intend to do a wall portrait. That's what I do. So that part's a given. But what about the other things? Don't the grandmas on both sides have to have an 8x10? Most of the time, yeah, they do. What about mom and dad if there's both? Won't they want, both of them want a 5x7 for their desk at the office? Probably so. Are they going to want to give some as gifts to others? There's probably 1 or 2 or 3 more. I want to find out all of that ahead of time, because this is a custom item that I'm creating for them. I want to be able to say during the session that this is the best one for whatever it was we talked about during the planning session. And I'll give you an example of that when we talk about that in section 4. So that is that's into section 3. Let's move into section 4. This is the photography session itself. The photography session. Make sure that you use a camera that's good enough quality to make a nice size wall portrait. In most situations, if you can, I do want you to use a tripod or choose a shutter speed that's fast enough where you can get away with using heavier and longer focal length lenses if you're using those. We want our images to be sharp, at least have the potential. One of the questions I do ask during the planning session is, do you want these images sharp and clear, or do you see them more as soft and romantic? But either way, I want to start the images off sharp and clear, and then in post, create them as they envision them. Make sure that you keep in mind during this planning, during the photography session itself, keep in mind the location of the wall portrait that you planned during the planning session, so that you create some that are perfect for the spot where it's going to go. Make comments through the session that put them in the print buying mode, a print buying frame of mind. And one of the things I say, once I have created the image that I know I'm supposed to create for them, because I know during the planning session, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do during the photography session. It's not a matter of roaming around and hoping I find a good one. If I go around to enough places and create enough photographs, there's going to be at least something that they like. What? No, maybe when I started, I did that. But no, I already know what it is that they like. And so I create that. So I'm making comments saying things like, oh, that one is perfect for the living room where we talked about putting this image. This is the one. Oh my gosh, you're going to so love this. Now, you might ask, do you show them at that time? Sometimes I do, but no, for the most part, I'm not showing them those images yet. And the reason is because I want to keep that suspense. I don't want to relax that at all. I want them to have a first time viewing of these photographs, first time with me around, because, well, I'm the expert in that category. Shouldn't the expert be around when the decisions are being made? Yeah, of course. I also say things like, if they told me that grandma was going to want an 8x10, what do you think grandma would like most? Well, grandma would like to have images of the kids with their faces closed up, or maybe all of us together with our face closed. They want the faces. They don't care about the environment and other stuff. Like I commented that maybe mom says that she likes this beautiful environment, and so we go there. But grandma cares less about that. She cares about those beautiful faces. So I create something for grandma. And once I've created that, I say, this is the one. Oh my, and I am excited. I'm not making it up. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not acting. I'm actually excited that I accomplished the goal. And you are too when you do it, when you create something you're proud of. Number 5. This is after the session. This is where you're preparing for the presentation of your images. Do your best to cull the number of images that you show down to in the 20s, maybe 30s, and I'd say a total of 40 is really the maximum number you'd want to show. Now, if you're creating for some other purpose, because in this lesson today, we're talking about wall portraits. If you're creating for the purpose of an album, then you know about that ahead of time. And so you will create differently. But in this scenario, this family wants wall portraits. And all my families wanted wall portraits because that's what I specialized in. I want to keep my number of images that I show to somewhere in the 20s or 30s. Keep in mind, and I know this by experience, you lose money and cause frustration for yourself and them if you show too many images, if you give them too many options to choose from. You may think, well, I'm giving them more. They would like that. On the surface, but they're going through those images and they're having a difficult time deciding because you've got a lot of really beautiful images. Besides, you're going to be doing this again for them in a year. Create the ones that you know are the ones they want. And show the ones that you know that they want. And do that to the best of your ability. It's not quantity, it's quality. And you guys know that. Start the presentation with the image you feel they're going to like best for that wall portrait. So let's move into the portrait selection consultation. This is number 6 of the 11. I call it a portrait selection consultation. You call it whatever you want to, but I definitely think that every single step in your process deserves a name. So give it a name. You're the creative, come up with something. If you like portrait selection consultation, wonderful, go with that. But I definitely want whatever you call it to describe it well, not be something that is confusing. I want them to know what the session is about, what we're about to do. I've seen different ways that people have called it, and some of them are pretty good, and some of them, well, I wouldn't say that they're pretty good. You may say portrait reveal. Is that all that's happening? No, because they're supposed to select. And purchase. Mine doesn't say anything about purchasing. I have to make sure I do good client education to make sure they know this. But I have seen some that say reveal and ordering session or something along those lines. I like that. But make sure the title that you give it makes sense, not just to you, but to your client without them having to ask questions. Now, we want them to ask questions, but if they were just looking at what it is that you wrote, it makes enough sense. So I call it the portrait selection consultation. Now, I recommend using a projector. It is not the only way. But here's how I do it. I have a projector. It is bright. It's not one of $200 or $300 ones. Yeah, I wish I could recommend those. This projector is probably going to be at least $1,250, probably $1,500. You don't need the ones that are over $2,000 usually. That's pretty much overkill. But my goal here is a lot of the times, a lot of the clients I work with want their wall portrait up in the living room, a place of prominence in their home, meaning a place where everybody's going to see it who enters that home. That's where most of my portraits go. So it's an entryway. It's above a couch. It's above a fireplace. It's in a dining room. So those are the main areas where my portraits go. I project in that spot that we already talked about during the planning session. That's where I project. And in the size that I think is the right size for that space. I project right onto that wall. Now, if someone wanted to do this in a hallway, I don't have a short throw projector, so I wouldn't be able to do it in that small space. But that's not where most of my clients put their family photographs. They may put a high school senior portrait in a hallway, but not the family portrait. So therefore, I always have enough room to project. Software, there's different types of software that are amazing for this. You can use just your Lightroom and use the star system or flagging or rating in some way so that you can keep track of it. But ProSelect, if you go to timeexposure.com, is the tool that is the Cadillac of this software industry, of being able to show your photographs. ProSelect. There are others that are really good, and you can take your time, take a look at them, see what you can come up with. So I'm projecting in the appropriate size for that spot. And I say appropriate, whatever I feel is just right. I might show it larger and I might show it smaller so that they can get an idea of why I feel that the size that I've chosen is the appropriate size. So sure, show it bigger. They might actually like that better. And then show it smaller just so they can see, yeah, that is a little bit small. Because my goal is not to mention the dimensions so much as it is to get what is appropriate for the space. So who cares how many feet it is? I mean, it's of interest. It's maybe a curiosity for them, but all that matters is it's the right size for the space it's going to be displayed in. Start with the image you believe they will like most. And I start by volunteering what the investment is for that size. So I'll say this is and the most expensive single item on my price list is $8,000. It's a 5x7. And again, I speak in terms of feet. So 5x7 feet. That's $8,000. So if that's the size I'm projecting, by the way, most of the homes that I work in, 5x7 would be overkill big time. They just don't have a space large enough where that would be appropriate. So I have that on my price list because I want them to look at that number and see every other number as smaller. So it's a marketing choice. I also would love to sell my work. I'd love to see it that size. But guess how many I have sold over the years? 0. I've never sold a 5x7 image. I've sold a 4x6, but never a 5x7. By the way, if people started buying 5x7s, I would increase that size and increase the dollar value of it too, of course. But let's just say that that's the size I'm showing. I would say this is my $8,000 size. I don't talk about what dimensions it is. This is our $8,000 size. Can you see how amazing this looks here and how proud you'll be to see it here after we print it? Now, I might say, can you see this displayed proudly over your couch, over your sofa, however I choose to say it at the time? Now, because I've already discussed the investment, they already know approximately how much this is going to cost, but they still have a reaction to the price because now it has become reality. However, because I spoke about it before during the planning session, I gave it time to sink in for them to get used to it. I mean, anytime you do something for the first time or you move into something that you're uncomfortable with, you are that uncomfortable. But if you give yourself some time, you become comfortable, even with what before was uncomfortable. So that's why I tell them the investment ahead of time during that planning session. So I'm going back to temporarily. I'm going back to number 3. One of the things that I say is before we go any further, can I give you an indication of how much you can plan on investing? Of course, they want to know that. And the only reason I'm saying at that point is because I now know what it is that they want. And so I can give a pretty good estimate. Now, what estimate am I going to give? I'm going to give a range. Now, I know that they may choose a size that's smaller than the size I think. And so I'm going to give a low range that takes that into consideration, all the way up to the amount I actually think it's going to be. Because I want them to know. Sometimes it's less. Occasionally it's more than but I want them to know ahead of time what they can plan on investing. Because I want the best time to sell something is when there's nothing to buy. Because then the pressure is off. They're not having to pull out their credit card now. Best time to sell is when there's nothing to buy. So that's why I'm doing my selling during the planning session. And I've actually begun it during the phone call that caused the planning session. Now, once I've shown them that photograph, I do continue to show the rest of the images in that same size. Now, it's possible they asked me to, they said, you know what, that's a little bit more than we wanted to spend. Can we see it in the smaller size? And I will show it to them in the smaller size. For sure. Now, when I show the rest of the images, I show them in the appropriate size because I want them to get a feeling of why I feel that way. And so showing them in that regular size is appropriate. It's the right thing to do because it is the right size. How do you know? Because you're in the space. You get a feel for this quickly. It's not like I've taken any interior design classes. You just get used to this really quickly. Now, once you have gone through and you've chosen the ones they want, you already know what they want, so you have a list. The wall portrait for the living room, maybe the wall portrait for the upstairs hallway. I mean, there may be a couple of places. They may have a second home. By the way, having a second home rocks. It doubles the sale. I love it when people have a second home. But alas, most of my clients, they don't. But some of them want to put it up in the office. So once we've chosen the images that we want, this is the one we want for the wall. This is the one we want for this grandma. This is the one we want for that grandma. This is for this godparent. This is for Aunt Susie. This one, I've got the 2 5x7s for both mom's and dad's office. I added up. And I tell them by looking them straight in the eye what the price is for what they've chosen. You have to maintain eye contact when you say this. Again, you've already given them an indication of how much they can plan on investing in. You've given them a range. This usually is within that range. It's almost always within the range that I give them. It's because once I have an idea of what it is they want, it's not that hard to guesstimate what the price is going to be. But I also do tell them, some do more, some do less. I want them to know what the minimum possible is too. Occasionally someone may say, well, what's the least I can get away with? No one ever buys the least, by the way. No one. Well, the least is the $400 for the creation fee, because that's how much I charge for a creation fee. And the smallest print that they could possibly purchase. So they can get away with, $550 to $800 on the low end. They could. They really could. I know how much it cost me to photograph a family portrait, though. It cost me $750. And so therefore, I gear my prices to make sure that I never lose money on the job. So many photographers have never taken the time to find out how much it costs them. Now, you may think, well, I've got gas. Gas is one of the smallest pieces of cost you've got for most of us. It just doesn't matter. But what does matter is you. You are the most expensive part of this process. Labor. You, as the artist. You know how much time you're going to invest. For me, a family portrait takes an average of 21 total hours, from the first emails back and forth to me driving home after installing that beautiful portrait on their wall. 21 hours. It costs you money to do that. If you were to hire an employee, wouldn't you pay them for their 21 hours? Of course you would. So why aren't you paying for you? Are you the worst boss on the planet? Because you play both roles, employer and employee. You're the business owner, but you're also doing the work. Make sure that business owner pays you for doing the work. So I'm adding up their choices. I'm giving them the amount. If I and then I add on, would you like to take care of that with a credit card? Again, looking them in the eye. Sometimes they say, well, that's a lot. That's a little bit more than I anticipated. Can we break that up into payments? Or some they say that's a little more than I was expecting. Can we take something out or reduce the size? And so of course, yeah, we can do anything beforehand. Now here's something I said keep in mind for later. When it comes to frames, I know what frame is going to look best with that photograph and the environment that photograph will be displayed in. I already know. So instead of bringing the frame corners and letting them choose, I say, I know the perfect frame for this print, and it is perfect for this environment too. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I don't need to say that because they get it. I know the perfect frame. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get it framed for you. You don't want to worry about that kind of stuff anyway. You've got a million things going on in your life. Do you need for me to give you more stuff to do? I'm going to take care of that for you. I'm going to install it on your wall, and you get to enjoy it for a week, 2, a month. And if you decide that I'm wrong, no hard feelings. I fix it. I get you a different frame. Guess how many people have asked me to get a different frame? None. It's never happened. Now, that doesn't mean it can't, but it sure makes things a whole lot easier. Once you've gotten to this point, you've built up such a rapport that they believe that you're the expert because, well, you are, especially compared to their level of knowledge on portraits. So yeah, I do that. Now you may say, well, what about charging them for it? Do you charge them for it? Well, of course I charge them for it. I'm not paying for their frame. Why would I pay for their frame? Yeah, I'm adding to the price that I just gave them for the frame. By the way, I do say that before I give them the total. But yeah, I do add in the cost of the frame. And I don't, if they do want a different one, I would only charge them the difference in price. So if the frame that they really wanted was a bigger, beautiful, more expensive one, I'd only charge them the difference from the frame that I already charged them for. So what does that mean? That I wind up with an extra frame that I have to take home? So what? Again, it hasn't happened. Number 7. I want to confirm that this is the right thing. You guys have experienced this before. I want to avoid buyer's remorse. There's been probably a handful of times in your life you've bought something and you have had this feeling of, did I make the right choice here? There's probably a lot of situations, maybe not even involving money. Did I make the right choice here? I want to assure them that they did. We have made the right choice together. So I send them a thank you note. I actually, as I'm driving away, find a place that's far enough away where they don't see me, and I write it while everything's still fresh in my mind. I comment about this nice session that we've just had. And I put that in the mail. And that arrives tomorrow. I also send them an email. Basically the same thing, but commenting, I don't know when the mail is going to arrive, and I wanted to send you this message. I wanted you to get this message right away. So thank you so much for being, just the most wonderful clients ever. All my clients, somehow, I don't know what is the deal, but the universe is sending me the most wonderful, beautiful, happy, loving, kind, caring clients. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed working with you. This print that I'm creating for you you're going to be so proud of it. And I will be proud that you're proud of it. You're going to be You'll see that on your wall, and you'll be crying tears of joy for years to come. I'm so proud to be a part of that. All of this is true. I'm not making this up. This is not drama. This is how I feel. I'm not telling you you need to write stuff that you don't feel. If you don't feel that, do not write that. You write whatever you feel. But I believe in this. Number 8. Artwork. Finishing. Ordering the prints. If they need to make a payment plan and you are good with that, you don't have to do anything. But if you're good with that, if you're fine, that's fine. But I would recommend that you don't get started on anything until you have gotten a minimum of 50% of that sale. Minimum 50%. The next thing on that is I want you to create a process for your procedure manual of the steps that you consistently follow to ensure consistency and quality. I want you to do this for every step. We're talking about this one in particular, though, where you're doing the artwork. Now, that means Photoshop or whatever image manipulation program you choose to use. Finishing, making things optimized for the size, and then ordering the prints. What are the steps you take to maintain quality and consistency during this phase, this step of the process? Quality, a quality thought or a quality comment. Do not ever release work that isn't your absolute best. Even during that presentation, don't show work that you think, it's good. It's pretty good. There's one to eliminate. Trying to get those numbers down. Now you may think, but this is the only one of this. Okay. You may have to make a little lean in that direction in that type of instance. Number 9. Packaging your work and signing your work. Artists in general, of which you're a member of the artist community, sign their work. When you go to a museum, look down in the bottom right corner most of the time, sometimes in the bottom left, look down that bottom right corner, you'll see the signature. Look at a sculpture. Maybe not so much sculptures, maybe carvings or other types of art. You'll see the signature of the person on it. There's a lot of photographers that think, well, this is going up in their home. It's not mine. If you're proud, sign it. Just this one guy's opinion. You don't have to agree with it. But I am proud of the work that I do. This is a signature piece. Therefore, it gets my signature. All of my wall portraits have been signed. There's not a single one in anyone's home that does not have my signature on it. And let's take that one step further. I sign in gold. Gold. Not gold color. Gold. And the way I do that is with gold foil, lightweight stuff, and a heated ballpoint pen. I put the gold foil on the print, take my heated pen, and I think I've shown that before, and I hope they still sell this, but if not, maybe there's another provider. The Gold Rider pen. I use this to sign my work. Ballpoint pen, but it's heated. So every single piece that I create has my signature in gold. And it's kind of funny. one time, this is before I made it a point that all decision makers must be present at every step. So, if the mom says, well, dad's got a busy schedule and he'll be there if he can be, or then I need to reschedule to a time when he can be. If they, if it's, the day of and, I'm about to leave, I let them know that I'm about to head out, and mom says that, okay, so we thought he'd be able to be there, but he's not able to be there. So it's just going to be me. And I said, no problem. We'll schedule it for a time that both of you can be present. At every step of the process, I want decision makers present. If it's a single mom or a single dad, no problem, no issue. But if it's a couple, both must be present. That's my rule. And the reason, I want both on the same page. I don't want the one who wasn't there to be surprised by any of this. So let's say dad wasn't there, and then he comes to the price during the portrait selection consultation, and he gets freaked out about the price. Well, our goal is to enjoy these photographs, not freak out about price. Price was already discussed. You already agreed. Yes, it may be a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But you already are there. You're already good with it. And if he's not present, or she are not present during during the planning process, then they may be totally unaware. Now, in those instances, mom would say, "Oh, well, I can just tell him everything." You are my client. I'm not giving you more work to do. The only area I might allow you to do more work is in, choosing your clothes or buying new clothes. Okay, yeah, I have to give you some leeway there. But I'm not going to make you my salesperson. How rude is that? I am not going to make you work for me. And if I am, then I'm supposed to pay you. No, it's my job to share this information. It isn't yours. So I'm not going to say that specifically, but I am thinking it. My clients my decision makers must be present at every step of this process. Okay, during the phone call, the initial phone call, of course, only one of them is going to be on the initial phone call, if there's two. But every step past that must be present. If I give a little bit of leeway, it would be in the delivery and installation, but I really don't want that either. And I'll tell you why in a moment, because we haven't gotten to that part yet. I want each person to be present. Now, let me give you a quick story. And I have shared this story before. If you guys have followed me, or even just watched some the Portrait Profits episodes from the past, there was a situation 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so not long ago at all, where a mom called, and almost always it's mom calling, just FYI. Target market is moms. Mom called and said, "We want to do a family portrait." Now, I recognize the name of this, the last name. I didn't recognize the mom's name. I recognized the last name, and you would too. That's why I'm not going to say it. She mentioned that her husband was running for, and I'm not going to say that either. So he was running for something, and some public office, and said that she wanted to do a family portrait because they hadn't done one for a while, and they were going to be using it for campaign purposes. And of course, I'm fine with that. They can use it for whatever purpose they want, as long as they don't mess with it. It doesn't hurt its value. I'm good with anything. So she said what she wanted, and I was very interested. And we talked about what I do to make sure that I'm the right tool for the job, in addition to her sharing what she is envisioning. And then I tell them how I do business. How I do business is they must both be present. And she said, "Oh, he's running for something, and he's really busy, so it would just be me." And I said, "I understand, but I need to have both decision makers present so that there isn't confusion or someone being upset later down the line. And I don't want to make you my salesperson." And I shared with her the value of doing that, the reason why I do that, and how important it is. And I spent maybe 10 minutes talking about that and visiting with her. So it wasn't just the surface level that I'm giving you today. She said, I agree. I believe that that is what we need to do. And I will visit with him and I'll make this happen because I really want this. This is what I really want. She called back and she said, I couldn't talk him into it. So can you make an exception for me just this one time? Because I really, this is what I want. I said, I don't make that exception anymore. I have in the past. I learned from it. It was a mistake. I learned from my mistakes. Every good business owner, every good artist does. She cried. And that did hurt my feelings a little bit because I felt for her. She believed in this. This is what she wanted. He was refusing to do it because he was busy. Now, I get it. People are busy. It doesn't matter what it is that you do, you're busy. If you're a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman, a policeman, a teacher, you're busy. You are. You're working hard. You're working hard because you love your family and you want to provide for them. You want them to have a good life. Wait a minute. What is it you're working so hard for? Your family. This photograph is the representation of that love. I need to have both members present so that we can plan for this representation of your love. Yes, I can press the button in front of anything. I can show up at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday and photograph anybody. But this is a collaborative piece of art, custom made for you. So therefore, I have to have the decision makers present. I declined that business. It probably would have been a really big sale. I'm real sure of that. The thing that one of the many things that causes me to stand out from the crowd, though, is my planning. What I know about the people I'm going to be working with and implementing what it is that I have learned. Without it, I'm just another person that presses a button. I'm no different than the next person. I'm no more talented than the next person. One of the things that causes me to stand out is the planning. And if I can't do that, I'm not doing the business because I don't want to be part of the crowd. I want to stand out from it. A little bit more on the packaging and signing. We're still on number 9. Carefully and beautifully package everything. This shows value in what it is that you have created. It's not just a piece of paper. My smaller prints, my loose prints, I put them in a box. It's a black box. It has my logo embossed in gold on it. There's tissue paper inside the box. The prints are placed down on it. Tissue is folded, and there's a sticker. It says Landers Photography. Of course it does. Put the lid on. Put a bow on it. That's how I deliver my photographs. And a lot of times they say, this is so pretty, I don't know if I want to open it. And of course they do, because I want to see what's inside. But I want that wow reaction. Now, as far as the wall portraits, here's what I'd suggest. Get some felt, sew up the sides, put your logo on it, and walk in with your photographs that way. Nice presentation. Number 10, delivering the order and installing the wall portraits. If there is a balance due, you need to collect it before you do anything. Start with that. Hopefully that's already been taken care of. With all of mine, it's already done before that. But just in case something happens, Make sure that it is done ahead of time. In fact, if they do owe a balance and you're about to deliver the photographs, you give them a phone call and you say, how about if we take care of this over the phone with a credit card? And they may at that time say, oh, I've got cash for you. And so you're good. Or check if you accept checks. But make sure that's taken care of. You do not want to install your photograph on their wall. And then they say, oh, but I don't have the money today. You were expecting that today? I don't want to run into a problem like that. Make sure they already know what this step is going to be like, what's going to happen here. Because if you're installing their photograph on their wall, this could take you just a little bit of time. You could also get someone else to install it for you if you feel uncomfortable with that. Your insurance covers this, by the way, if something were to happen, because something happened once. Different story, different time. Not a big deal, but still scared me, scared them. And so make sure they have a good understanding of what this process looks like. Every single step of your process, you should be telling them, educating them how it is that you do business. So describe it to them at the portrait selection consultation, the ordering session, so they know what is going on at the delivery and installation. When you call to make arrangements, I mentioned that already. So make sure you got that money up front. And you install. Now, how do you install? That's for a different class. It's not for today, the how to install. But you are making sure that they know what the steps are. You've told them ahead of time what it is I'm going to be doing while I'm here. You've got every tool that you need in order to make that happen. And you install it on their wall. And then there's another step I want you to do. I want you to photograph your portrait on their wall for your marketing purposes, to show to other clients. Photograph it on their wall. Back up, show the entire wall, the entire room. This helps prove what you are telling people that you do. I choose the space, or actually the client normally chooses the space, but I choose every other variable based on what the decor of the room is. This photograph that I've custom created for them in collaboration with them looks like it belongs. And this photograph proves it, where I'm photographing the environment with my photograph in it. Now that's good. The better is, or the best, it's better. The best is also one more step. Get the family to stand with their portrait and photograph that also, and get a testimonial from them. They're going to say stuff. They're incredibly happy and proud. So getting a testimonial is just natural. They just do it. They just say it. Write down what they just said and said, you know, if I want to use your testimonial in my marketing, I wrote down what it was you said. Is this okay? And you're welcome to change it. And I show it to them. And almost always they say, yeah, absolutely, use it. Now sometimes if I feel like they're the right person for this, I might pull out my cell phone and say, can I do a video testimonial where they're standing in front of their portrait on the wall and they're talking to me about it. Not everybody's comfortable with the video, but videos work. Use this tool. A lot of your families will be happy to do this, especially at this moment when that happiness is so high. So that's at number 10, the delivery installation of the wall portraits. And then we end with number 11. Now you may think, well, what's left? Follow up. Just like we talked about in previous steps along this process. I want you to drive away from their home and get to a place that's just far enough away where there's no potential for them to see you do this. Stop and write a thank you letter. A real thank you letter. On paper. Write it. With an envelope, put a stamp on it, their address, yeah. That old-timey thing, yeah, do that. A lot of meaning. Because your mind is fresh on this. You're still feeling the effects of this experience, that's the best time to write it. And then drop it in the first mailbox you see. In 3 days, I call them to make sure that they're still thrilled. And within 3 days, they still are. If there is anything that they don't like about the photograph, whether it's my fault or theirs, I replace it. I fix the problem and replace it. Now, this is my thrilled guarantee. And again, if you've been following me, you've heard this before, and I'm not the only photographer who does this. It's possible this is the first time you've heard of it, but there's lots of photographers that do this. Percentage-wise, it's very small, but I have a thrilled guarantee. I absolutely guarantee that you will be thrilled, not satisfied. My goal isn't to make you think, well, it's okay, it's good. What? There is no photographer in the world that feels that way. We all want our clients to be thrilled. We may say it in a different way, but we want them to be happy. We want them to cry tears of joy when they see our work. So I guarantee it. I absolutely guarantee that you will be thrilled, not just satisfied, or I'll do whatever it takes to make you thrilled. That means, even if that means reprint and do some artwork, if that means redo the session, or I'll give you your money back. Now, I can only offer that because of this system, because I already know what it is that they want. I know where it's going to go. Everything I've done is by design for them. So therefore, guess how many people have taken me up on my thrilled guarantee? None. I've never had to give them their money back. Now, I have given money back for other reasons. Maybe they couldn't make the session. Maybe there was some variable in there that made things not be completed. So in rare instances, sure. But as far as getting this image on their wall and having them say, I want my money back, this sucks, never happened. It could. But that confidence that you show in your work is going to cause you to get more business that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So therefore, it is worth it to implement this into your system. Now, following these 11 steps, and let me tell you the titles one more time. Talk about wall portraits. 2, show only wall portraits, no 5x7s. Have a real planning session. Number 4, the photography session that's based on the planning session. Number 5, the things you do after the session, which are in preparation for your presentation. Number 6, that presentation. I call it the portrait selection consultation. Number 7, confirmation. Make sure they're good with what we just did. They just spent a lot of money. Number 8, artwork, finishing, and ordering those prints. Number 9, your signing of the images and your packaging of the images. Number 10, delivery of that order and installation of the prints. And number 11, following up. Following these 11 steps in the system will cause your clients, or you may want to call them patrons. Patrons are people who appreciate the arts. So patrons, that's what you are. Your clients are patrons. This will cause your clients to invest in wall portraits. And it is something that makes you proud to see, and it makes them proud as well. Talk about a win-win. It also causes you, there's a cool side effect to getting your prints on someone's wall. You do make money. So it causes you to make money. That causes you to reach whatever fulfillment you deserve. You deserve, each one of you deserves to make a living in photography and not need to do anything else. I believe that you can make that happen. Here's some action steps. Number one, write down every single step that you're going to be doing. Write them all down. Envision in your mind, envision each step. Write things down in detail about what you'll be doing, what you'll be saying, what you'll be including, what you're thinking about. Everything in this process. These 11 steps will help as a guide, but you're going to need to write what you're going to do. Number two, write your responses. This is the emails that you send out after each time you visit with them. After the first phone call, send an email. After the planning session, send an email. Write these emails ahead of time. These are your guides so you don't have to reinvent the wheel with every single client that you've got. Save yourself a little bit of time. Write this ahead of time while your mind is in the right place. Number three, write your thank you notes. You're writing your thank you notes at different steps of this process. I'd say a minimum of 2 thank you notes. But write them ahead of time. Have them in your notes. Again, so you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time you're doing this. You may be uncomfortable doing these kind of things. I was at first. But I want to tell you, this is a good thing. Being uncomfortable is a good thing, not a bad thing. People want everything to be comfortable. I get it. I do too. But I don't grow when I'm comfortable. I stagnate when I'm comfortable. You may be uncomfortable, but that's a good thing, because that is the only place that you're going to grow to become the person that you want to be, that your significant other wants you to be, your family wants you to be, your clients want you to be. I want to thank you for your interest in growing your knowledge on the business side of photography. Thank you for dedicating your time and sacrificing other important things in your life to be here today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to watching you grow. Now, I want to bring Amanda back. I think she had something that she wanted to share with you guys today.
Hey everybody, I'm back. Jim, amazing information. We've got a lot of great feedback, especially through our new system. We don't have any questions yet. I'm looking forward to questions here in the future as we do that. But definitely a lot of great feedback. I wanted to let everybody know that these live streams, as we're posting them to our social media feeds, will stay there, either at Digital Pro Labs YouTube channel, Landers Photography School's Facebook page, also our Digital Pro Lab Facebook page, and I believe the SA photo group as well. So if you missed anything, if you didn't get a chance to hear the beginning of it, I encourage you to go back there and listen again until you get it, until you can try it out. The last thing that I wanted to let y'all know about is what I told you at the very beginning, that Digital Pro Lab does have a promo code for you, and it's actually going to be on to receive 30% off any of our fine art 16 by 20 and 16 by 24 print options. So that's our entire Hamill photo paper line. So that's going to be on 16 by 20, 16 by 24 Barita. It's going to be smooth photo rag, German etching, and torch on. I've got a few samples here really quick that I'm going to show you. There's a 16 by 24, and let me get the 16 by 20. You can see proportionally to me kind of how big that is. And in order to get that promo code, I want you to do me a favor. Head on over to our Facebook page at Digital Pro Lab. You can go over to our website at digitalprolab.com, or you can even go to our Instagram page, again, at Digital Pro Lab. And we've already posted that promo code there for you to get 30% off 16 by 20 and 16 by 24 fine art prints. That way you can test out some of the different papers. If you've never done any giclée fine art printing before, it's stunning, it's beautiful. If you love black and white images, those white points of your paper are beautiful. They're going to help to increase the contrast that really makes them pop, as well as the color gamut range for fine art prints. If you love portraits, just like you saw, landscapes, just like you saw, those reds, those greens, those yellows are more vibrant. So please, I encourage you to test those out. Printing makes you a better photographer. And Jim obviously knows the importance, and hopefully has taught you the importance of wall portraits, and fine art paper options are just part of that. So we encourage you to try those out. Again, head over to @Digital Pro Lab on our Facebook and Instagram to find that promo code, or just drop on over to digitalprolab.com and you'll see it right there at the homepage. All right, we'll see you later. Back over to Jim.
Thank you. Man, Amanda, you rock. I'm so glad to be working with you on this project. Amanda and I have known each other for quite some time. And guys, if you're not using this local, if you're in San Antonio or not, this is a resource you can use, and I definitely recommend using Digital Pro Lab. Amanda and her team, amazing, wonderful people, really care about you. And so I want to thank those of you who are here today, and thank you for those kind comments. Jonathan, thank you for the awesome tips and information. I appreciate you saying that. And Gabriel and Stephen, thank you guys, all of you that have commented with the nice comments. I sure appreciate that. If you don't mind, give me a like or a heart or something on that Facebook page. I know some of you are watching via YouTube, so you may not have the like there, but you can click on subscribe. Or you can hit like there too, but I don't know if you can hit love. But back to the 11 steps. Please implement those. Start now. Start today. It's fresh on your mind right now. You can do this. You can make this your norm, but it takes some time, takes some effort, but you know it's the right thing to do. So I encourage you to do that. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, this is Jim Landers bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show, giving you evolving content, awareness, and even fun to the business side of photography. We provide helpful information, step-by-step processes, how-to articles, and action steps that will help guide you with the struggles that you deal with now, so you are consistently realigned to the path that leads you to the success you deserve. Thank you, guys, and see you next Monday. Bye-bye for now.